Record. Okay, I'm recording. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. My name is Todd Timbrooks. Oop, I got my cowlick showing there. Got my cowlick. Whenever your hair is this white and you're just a black background, you really have to worry about the cowlicks and everything. So anyways, make sure the sound's going and everything. All right, my name is Todd Timbrooks, and welcome to another episode of Please Vote For Me. I want to be, and here we are. Okay, so I'm Thomas W. Timbrooks for the United States House of Representatives. That's over there in Washington, D.C. I want to represent Oregon's 6th Congressional District, and I am part of the Republican Party, so hey, make a wish. This is Oregon, huh? Anyway, so my whole platform is I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. Okay, so I'll get off on this for a minute now. So one of the ways I want to make Oregon's great, the 6th Congressional District, Oregon's greatest congressional district. Recently, Congress has passed some legislation. I don't know how far it's gotten through. Oh, man, that cowlick is still up there, man. I feel like my mom's watching. She was like, okay, put it down like that. Yes. Anyways, so United States Congress, House of Representatives, recently looked at some legislation which would prevent members of the House of Representatives, members of Congress, from using congressional, information that's privileged to congressional officials as a way to invest in the stock market. And the whole thing, it's a Nancy Pelosi bill thing. Congressional representatives and senators are each paid $178,000 a year, which is pretty decent money for some of them, not very decent for others. But some of these people, like Nancy Pelosi, she was in the House of Representatives for about 30 years, 20 years, 30 years, something like that. And she left with like $400 million. How did she make $400 million while in there? Well, she was investing in the stock market, and some people write books and they make a little extra money doing that. And some people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of our favorites, she'll make public appearances. And, people just pay to listen to her talk, or, they'll buy their books or whatever. But, $400 million, that's a lot of money. Well, it was found that during the shutdown, she was making a lot of money by selling stock at a very critical time and then buying it back at a very critical time. So I mean, that was a lot of money that she was making off of, privileged information, insider. I don't know if it was insider information, but it was definitely insider adjacent information. So it was information that she had that more than likely, if one of us was to look hard enough for it, we would probably find it. Okay, and so what this makes me think is, why is it these people go to Congress and get rich and they totally forget about the friends back in their congressional district who got them the job in the first place? Okay, I mean, if somebody does you a favor and gets you to Washington, D.C. so that you could be a representative or senator or whatever and, get that cushy job, that nice office and everything, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice if, you get some information like that and you share it with the people back home or something? So that got me thinking, how would I take this and make it into something that would help the 6th Congressional District here in Oregon to become a much better district? Okay, and this is the nature of my slideshow here. My slides today, okay, make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. So I got a 2-phase plan, okay, for one goal. 2 phases, 1 goal. Oregon thrives. Wealth for citizens, strength for communities, hope for everyone. That sounds good. Sounds kind of like communism. It's not communism, it's just, that's That's my thing. You know, phase one, building prosperity, okay? A new path forward. Instead of redistributing poverty, we redistribute opportunity. That sounds good. I like the way that sounds. Redistribute opportunity. Yeah, okay. The wealth play. The answer most people will give on how to fix the economy is to increase taxes on the rich. The problem is there are only so many rich people, and those who are rich know how to avoid taxes. So my solution is to make our citizens wealthy. Create more rich people. That's you. I want to create rich people here in Oregon's 6th Congressional District. Okay, now, how do we do that? How do we do that? Here we go. I want to make everyone in Oregon's 6th Congressional District extremely wealthy. Of course, your actual result, that guy's pretty rich. I mean, if you got money to just throw up in the air, he's doing pretty well. And you see from the background, he's living in a nice place there. But anyway, yeah, I want to make all you people extremely wealthy. Okay? Now, I want you to generate a great deal of taxable wealth so that the government can come in and take a big chunk of it. Okay? So I do have a sort of a alternate agenda here. I mean, yeah, I do want to make you rich, but there's a whole reason that I want to make you rich. It's not totally altruistic. I'm not like, you know, hey, I want to be your pal and I'm going to make you rich or anything like that. I do have an agenda here, okay? So I want the government to be able to come in and take a big chunk of it through taxes, okay? Now, I want to provide every person living in Oregon's 6th Congressional District with the information needed to successfully play the stock market. And like I said, this is information that they already have. Over there in the House of Representatives and the Senate, they have this stock market information. They're just not sharing it with you. Okay, you know, I mean, if they have a really good stock tip, and it makes no sense either, because the stock market works better when everybody plays. Because you know, you might wait. Let's say you buy stock right now, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to wait 20 years, and this stock will go up, you know, $100. It's a great savings plan and all that stuff. Well, if a lot of people play the stock market, like, you know, 100 million, 200 million people play the stock market. What's going to happen is that stock that you just bought, it's going to like quadruple in value next week. So you can sell it next week and you've made all the money that you would have made, you know, anyway, and then you can take the money you made, invest it in other stock that's you know, not doing very well. That's what the stock market is all about. The stock market is there to provide investors, you know, you, me, just regular people with an opportunity to take part in the American economic system, an opportunity to take part in the, you know, capitalism and industry. There are a lot of companies out there, you know, a lot of people, entrepreneurs, they have ideas, and these ideas are fantastic ideas. They just don't have the money that they need to develop these ideas and make them into, you know, consumer items. Well, you and I investing in the stock market provides them with the money they need to develop their ideas so that America can be a much more prosperous country. See, so that's what the stock market's all about. And the stock market works a lot better when everybody takes part in it. Because I mean, there are a lot of ideas out there that don't get developed because, like, you know, not everybody partakes in the stock market. But if everybody took part in the stock market, America would be, we wouldn't be just the greatest country in the world. We'd be the greatest. Well, I would like to say the greatest country in the universe, but I don't know, man. That sounds kind of dumb and hopeful, you know. I mean, who are we competing with? Extraterrestrials that, you know, whatever. But anyway, so we could be, we're already the greatest country in the world. So I guess we could compete inside. I could say, like, I've got the greatest congressional district in the world, and somebody could be like, no, I do. And I'd be like, no, all my people are rich and happy and Lexuses in the driveway and stuff like that, and they've got spaceships and But anyways. So, if everybody in America were to take part in the stock market would be a much better for everybody. It'd be a much better place to invest your money, okay? So that's why I don't understand why it is these representatives over there in Congress in Washington, D.C., they got all these ideas and they don't share it. That's my idea. My idea is I'm going to go out and look for this information, give it to you, okay? So you can become rich. And that's why I say successfully play the stock market, okay? And here's the thing. Let's say, for instance, you want to become a great tap dancer. You go to the library and you get books on tap dance. And looking at this, I don't think these people are tap dancing. I think they're just like regular dancing. I don't know who any of these people are, but they seem happy and dancing and like that, okay? So anyway, the problem is the library has millions of books. How do you find the books that will help you reach your objective? Well, a librarian can help you to find the information that is publicly available that will help you reach your objective. I want to be your librarian. I want to help you get the information that is publicly available that will help you reach your objective. And what I mean by all this public information is here. Now, the SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission. And the purpose of the Securities and Exchange Commission is to make sure that there's no insider trading. I mean, they have other purposes, but one of their functions is to make sure that there's no insider trading. And so basically, when Nancy Pelosi was doing her insider trading, it would have been the responsibility of the SEC to make sure that she didn't do that, or she couldn't do that, or whatever. But the SEC gets their money because Congress approves the funding, so it's going to be kind of difficult for the SEC to come after Congress, because if they come after Congress, it's one of those Ouroboros things, the snake that eats its own tail and like that. So that might not work exactly. But anyways, that's what I want to do. See, that's insider trading information. The SEC keeps a very tight lid on insider trading and doesn't want insider trading happening. But, get back to the slides here. In plain language, there is public information only. Okay, I would provide publicly available information that you don't realize will help you to do well in the stock market. Okay, there's a lot of information out there that you don't pay attention to. You have access to it. It's publicly available information. You have access. It's right there in front of you. If you read a newspaper, if you check out some magazines, I mean, Harvard Business Review, Business Daily, Business That, Business, all these business magazines, they will tell you exactly what stocks to look into trading. Okay. Well, now, what I want to do, I will look at the information. I will find the information. But Congress, what Congress does, Congress approves funding for certain things. And what I would do as a congressional representative is I would say, okay, look, Congress is approving funding for ABC Incorporated. And ABC Incorporated is going to be the primary contractor for Husker Du pellets or whatever, all right, something. So that company, their stock is probably going to increase from X dollars a share to 3X dollars a share, all right? So if you were to purchase 1,000 shares of their stock at X, within a month, you'd be able to sell that stock for 3X. So $10,000 in a month would become $30,000. You'd make $20,000 off that. Okay, so that kind of information is publicly available, and it is not considered insider information. So the SEC would not have any objection to me sharing that information with you. And I've got a website, okay? If you look on my little YouTube page here, I've got a website available, and that website I could just publish all the information that you need. It's like, you know, these guys are getting this contract, these guys are getting this contract. It's publicly available information. It's just like when you go to the library, you see 10 million books in the library, and you're thinking, I guess I'm not going to be a great tap dancer, you know. But if I am your librarian, I will deliver the information to you that you need in order to become wealthy. All right. Now, like I said, your becoming exceptionally wealthy is not my primary, it's a means to an end. Okay? It is a means to an end. If I didn't have a different end in mind, I probably wouldn't come up with this, okay? And let me get to where I want to get with this, all right? Okay, so no stock tips or manipulation, of full, complete transparency. So you're not going to get in trouble for insider information, okay? And say, for example, the government collects about half of every dollar you make by playing the stock market. So for every millionaire I help to create, the government will get $500,000. For every 1,000 millionaires I help to create, the government will get $500 million. If I can help all 720,000 individuals in Oregon's 6th congressional district to become millionaires, the government will get about half of $720 billion. That's a good sum of money. So what does that mean for Oregon? Well, $720 billion taxed at a rate about 50% will provide about $366 billion to the government. Because the state of Oregon gets about 10% of that $366 billion, Oregon would get about $36.6 billion to run Oregon. Okay, now here's the thing. We have a kicker fund. The kicker fund we have in Oregon takes any money collected by taxes that is over the amount needed to run the state and divides that money among the population of Oregon. That would mean if everybody in Oregon got, let's say that it costs $15 billion to run the state, you would have, $21.6 billion left over, which would mean every person in Oregon would get about $564,000. Now, here's the thing. I know that's not how it works. My whole objective here is to get enough money into the government's hands to address the problems Oregon has created by adopting terrible policies over the past several decades. And by terrible policies, you should know enough by now, I'm going to say socialism. Okay? Socialism works really well as long as you have somebody else's money to spend. And right now, it's not working very well because the government of Oregon has been spending so much of everybody else's money that corporations have to be taxed at a really, really high level. And there are all kinds of corporations that are leaving Oregon because the tax rate is way too high. There's too many taxes, way too many taxes. The corporations are leaving, which means no more money for socialism, which means Oregon's going to have to go into debt, and Oregon's going to have to tax you and me a lot more. Okay, so Oregon is going to need a whole bunch of money to fix the problems that socialism has created. Okay, so here we go. This past several decades, failed policies have led to homelessness, homeless veterans, substance abuse. These are very, very prolific problems in Oregon. Oregon, Washington have become places where homeless people and drug-addicted people with substance abuse problems, they come to Oregon because, well, initially years ago when Oregon decriminalized drugs, we created a haven for people to use drugs. They would just come to Oregon because they could use drugs, and that has created a lot of problems for Oregon because the rest of us have to pay for the cleanup. And because we're paying for that cleanup, taxes are going through the roof and corporations are leaving. All right, so we have to figure out a way to fix that. And the way to fix that, first of all, initially, we're going to need a whole bunch of money to clean everything up. And then once everything's cleaned up, we're going to have to set everything straight. But first, we need a whole bunch of money to clean everything up, okay? And this is how I'm going to do it. Now, I realize that the kicker fund is not the way I described it, okay? What the kicker fund is, it's if the government of Oregon needs this much money to operate, anything above this much money that's collected in taxes, like up here, is going to be distributed among the people, but it's not distributed equally. Okay, what happens is, like, let's say you paid no taxes last year, you wouldn't get much of anything out of the kicker fund. If you made a lot of money or you did a whole bunch of stuff, you provided a whole bunch of taxes to Oregon. Let's say you made $1 million and you were taxed at like 40%, and Oregon took a whole bunch of your money. You would get a whole bunch of money back from the kicker fund. So essentially, this is the kind of thing where it's not all going to come through with the kicker fund, but let's imagine this now. So we have many homeless people, people who have addiction problems, homeless veterans, people who need care in Oregon. Each one of those people, their care is going to require a lot of money. How are we going to get the money to care for these people? How are we going to get the money to make them into productive citizens again? Well, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to make everybody in Oregon's 6th congressional district extremely wealthy so that the government can come in, tax that income, and get enough money to actually provide the assistance to these people on the streets who need the assistance. We invited them. Oregon invited them over here. So, I mean, what are we going to do? Oregon invited them over here. They showed up. So now what are we going to do? Just, throw them out? Well, I mean, we've thrown them out on the street. I mean, is that right? I don't think that's right. So I'm not getting some weird noises and stuff. There we go. Weird noises go away. Okay. I think we're being invaded. Anyhow, so, Oregon invited them over here, so we've got all these people who have substance abuse problems. We got homeless veterans, homeless on the streets. We've got all these people in Oregon who have all these problems. We invited them over here. It's really up to the government to figure out how to fix that problem. And how do we fix? Well, money. We need money to fix the problem, make these people into productive citizens, sort of a promise. And it's not fair for the average tax-paying citizen living in Oregon to be expected to pay all of that money. So me, as a future potential government official, I've got a plan. I'm going to make all of the people who listen to my stock advice exceptionally wealthy. You're going to get a whole bunch of money by investing in the stock market. You're going to get very wealthy. The government's going to come by. They're going to tax what you've made. Yeah, you make $1 million. The government's going to take half of it. Well, let's think about this. You still have $500,000, right? And if you make $2, $3, $4 million on the stock market, yeah, they're going to take half of that, but you're still going to be a millionaire. So it's kind of your patriotic duty as an American citizen to, become exceptionally wealthy, to listen to my stock advice, to become exceptionally wealthy and pay half of whatever you make to the federal government so that Oregon can take 10% of it and help out the individuals. Also, with the $720 billion, I realize that's unachievable. That's not a realistic goal. My goal is just to give everybody in the congressional district an opportunity to use the same tools that people in Congress have. People in Congress have information about the stock market that is publicly available. It's available to you. They're just not telling you about it. Okay, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to relay that information to you, and it's entirely possible that by the time I get to Congress, I won't be able to take advantage of that information myself, but hopefully I'll make some money off of, like, touring and public appearances. Maybe I'll write a book or something like that. But yeah, you guys will be making millions and millions of dollars, and I'll be stuck with $178,000 a year salary. But we'll see what we can do. Okay. So anyway, so that's get back to my slides. Like I said, I'm nothing without my slides. Okay. So these are the problems. So when people rise, Oregon rises. More wealth, more taxable gains, more state funding. As an example, one new millionaire, like I said, has got a $377K to $507. Like half of that's going to be in tax revenue. Multiply that by thousands, right? Oregon's kicker superpower. The Oregon has a kicker fund that returns surplus revenues to citizens, more wealth, more kicker refunds, bigger prosperity dividends. I told you about that. And the kicker reform equal community healing. And here's where we get to the meat of it. And like I was saying, I realize that 720,000 millionaires in Oregon, that's in our district, not very likely, because more than half of those people are younger than 16, and they're probably not going to be able to invest in the stock market. But let's say 10% do. 10% of the people do, and that ends up Oregon getting $3.6 billion in revenue. That can still go into the kicker fund, but more importantly, that can go into a fund in Oregon to provide some kind of money to, some kind of benefit to the homeless, the homeless veterans, not necessarily these homeless veterans who require care. These people went out and fought America's wars. I mean, I'm a veteran. I like to know that our government, our people are looking out for veterans. I like the idea that people like me who went out and fought America's wars and took care of America, stood up for our Constitution and our rights and everything. I'd like to think that veterans get something. I like to think that they don't just come back home to America and it's like, oh, you got a problem because, shell shock or something like that. Well, deal with it. I say, well, come on, man. These people need therapy. They need medicine. They need care. They need something more than just, deal with it. Be tough, deal with it. So this kind of money could be distributed amongst the people of Oregon who actually need it. Now, it would not be available to these people as cash. Let's say you have substance abuse problems, you have psychological problems, and you're homeless as a result. This money could go to you. Now, I don't know if these people vote or whatever, but this money could be made available for these people. Not as just, straight across money. They're not going to give you, here's $500,000, homeless person, because that person's going to do a bunch of drugs and die. What we'll do, we'll take this money and we'll put it in a fund for each individual. Each individual living in Oregon who has these issues will get the treatment that they need. And that's what this next slide is about. Okay, so you'll get addiction treatment, PTSD and mental health support, food and rent assistance, and housing stability, all conditional on staying in treatment. So essentially, what the treatment program will do by being in treatment will be your job. Okay, you will actually have a job. Your job will be to get treatment and stay off the street. Go to meetings, go to support groups, take care of yourself, go out and look for work. If you can't find work, maybe create some kind of work. Clean the streets, wash the windshields, do things for people that, just small little favors that will get people, I know this one guy, he's homeless. He sits out on the street and he plays his violin, doesn't do it very well, but he does play his violin, and people give him a little bit of money here and there. You don't realize, but street musicians actually create sort of a ambiance of the city. You walk through the city, you hear these street musicians, these street performers, and you think, this is a great city, it's an interesting city. You've got just regular people out there doing stuff that make the city interesting. So really, that is the kind of thing that's the reason that I would want to, and this is the ends. Like I said, there's an ends to means. Making you rich is the means. Collecting the money in taxes and using that money to provide assistance to the people who are homeless, to the people who need medical or psychological care, to the people with substance abuse problems. That's what the money's for. Ultimately, my ends will be providing a whole bunch of money to the state of Oregon so that the state of Oregon can provide for the people that Oregon invited here in the first place. It just doesn't seem right that Oregon invites these people here, and when they show up, they say, I just live on the street. Okay, so socialism is never a good thing, but we had some experiments with socialism, and now the non-social people like me who don't believe in socialism, people like me who understand the evils of socialism and why socialism is a bad thing, it's up to us to clean up the problems that socialism has created. So essentially, my ultimate goal of getting all of that money is to clean up the problems that socialism has provided us, to clean up the problems that Oregon's experiment with socialism has created. So yeah, let's do that. I'll make you rich. We can destroy socialism, get socialism out of Oregon, and treat the people that Oregon invited over here with what they need. They need to be treated like humans. Okay, it's what is it? Immanuel Kant. What is it? Immanuel Kant created some concept of universal morality, and essentially what he was saying is humans must never be used as a means to an end. This is where we lose our humanity. If the more we use humans as a means to an end, the further we are from humanity. So if we can appreciate humans as humans and not use them as a means to an end, then we maintain our humanity. It's something like that. But Immanuel Kant, he was an interesting guy. He spent a lot of time in his apartment all by himself. But I don't think he was watching YouTube videos. This was a long time ago. And anyhow, so that's the ends I have in mind. And the means I have is to make you incredibly wealthy so that we can take half of what you earn and use it to do what is right. So there you go. Okay, so transforming lives, health returns, stability grows, families reunite, homelessness declines, and communities thrive. That's the idea. So the promise is to create prosperity that heals, use wealth to build community, let Oregon's success lift everyone. And by Oregon's success, I mean Oregon's 6th congressional district. Everybody in Oregon's 6th congressional district gonna get rich. Okay, that's my thing. Okay, and here we have, the problems created by the pursuit of money are just like having a cluttered kitchen. And you see in the background there, that's a picture of a cluttered kitchen. I put a whole bunch of words in front of it so that basically just increases the clutter. Okay, you can clean the kitchen, but it will get cluttered again. More money will clean up some of the issues caused by the pursuit of money, but those issues will persist. The price of a clean kitchen is attention, just like the price of a society that is free from problems caused by the pursuit of money is attention. And what I mean by the pursuit of money there is socialism. Socialism the socialists want your money to pay for their ideas. Okay, so yeah, whenever I say the pursuit of money, the pursuit of wealth, I'm talking about socialism. You're not creating wealth, you're pursuing wealth. You're trying to get somebody else's money, okay? So now here's phase 2 of the operation. I told you there's 2 phases to it. Here's phase 2. Phase number one, everybody in Oregon's 6th congressional district is much wealthier than they were before. Government comes in, takes your money, the people who Oregon invited over here, they get the care that they need, all right? So, phase 2 of the operation. At some point, Washington is going to flip the breaker. We plug into a new outlet, okay? And what I mean by that is this. The people over in Washington, D.C., they're not going to like people being prosperous and you doing the stock market like this. And they're going to create a law against it. Okay, that's just the way they are. They're going to be like, oh, well, these guys are getting rich and it's kind of messing with the stock market, so let's end this. And when they do, we're going to have a plan B. And this is phase 2 of the operation. All right, phase 2 of the operation. If Congress blocks our market approach, Oregon keeps the wealth we built controlled by the citizens, not D.C. CDs, that stands for Certificate of Deposit. That's the wealth protector. We shift gains into Oregon-based CDs. Now, what a CD is, like I said, Certificate of Deposit. You give your money to a bank. That bank holds your money and provides you with a consistent rate of return, an annual rate of return. Now, a couple of years ago, I invested a lot of money, probably about $120,000 into CDs. And the reason I did that was because the stock market was fluctuating and I didn't really see any potential in the stock market. So just throw it into CDs and you're guaranteed an annual rate. Okay, so when the federal government comes by and says, hey, you can't do that anymore, we're going to take the money that we made and we're going to give it to Oregon banks in the form of CDs. Those Oregon banks are going to use that money to lend out to institutions, and corporations, okay? So let's say you put $1 million into a CD at 5% interest. You're going to get $50,000 a year income for as long as you leave it in there. That's equivalent to about a $25 an hour full-time job. Okay, now that's going to fuel the Oregon banks. That capital empowers Oregon banks billions in loan power, low interest loans to Oregon-bound companies. And remember I told you, those companies are leaving Oregon because of the high tax rates. Now, what we're going to do by making you rich, providing Oregon with enough money to operate without charging really high taxes, the state of Oregon is going to have the money it needs to operate, and it's going to have the money that it needs to provide care to people who need it, and the banks are going to have money to provide to any corporations that want to come back to Oregon. Okay, so Oregon's going to benefit in that way with companies actually coming back to Oregon, right? So that's another good thing about it. Jobs, innovation, and growth. The business magnet strategy. Other states beg for companies. We simply make it profitable to come here. The lowest cost business capital in America. A self-powering economy. Wealth, CDs, local banks, business growth, jobs, more wealth. A circular prosperity engine powered by the people. That's you. Your money is now being used to attract corporations to Oregon, and you are making money off of those corporations coming here. It's not just your tax dollars going to corporations so they'll come here. Your money that is in a bank is being lent to a corporation so that corporation will come here, and you're making money off of the money that was lent to that company. So you're not being taxed, you're actually making money off of it. Capitalism. Woohoo! Socialism. Anyhow, so yeah, like I said, no subsidies, no debt, no bureaucracy overload, just Oregonians investing in Oregon. So the financial security everywhere, safe retirements, stronger businesses, rising wages, youth staying in state, families thriving again. So it's all good. The national model, or for Oregon 6, becomes #1 district to start and keep a business, #1 district for economic mobility, #1 district for financial independence. So the future we choose. Phase 1 builds wealth, phase 2 builds the future, phase 3 is to be determined, and I already have an idea for phase 3. I'm just not going to discuss it here. This is how we make Oregon 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district, okay? Now, here's something else I want to talk about. Tulsi Gabbard for president in 2028. I think that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be America's first female president, and the soonest she can run for president is going to be 2028. Everybody's talking about, oh, Donald Trump's going to run in 2028. I don't think Donald Trump's going to run in 2028. I think Donald Trump is going to be able to look back and say, I spent 4 years building up America, doing a lot of good stuff. It's time for, I've had 2 terms. I did what I came to do. He's going to get a Nobel Peace Prize. I hope he does. But anyway, so he's going to be able to say, yep, I'm done. Hand it off to somebody else. And I think Tulsi Gabbard is the person that's going to take that. Now, the whole thing, yeah, Donald Trump, if you watch Donald Trump, he builds people. Donald Trump doesn't just build properties, he builds leaders. You just look at his children. His children are decent, good people. And you look at those people he elevates. All the people that Donald Trump has put in his cabinet has done very well. Now, why Tulsi? Well, she's a combat veteran with leadership, former United States House of Representative from Hawaii, service-driven values, strong foreign policy credibility. The strategic appointment. President Trump selected Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, a national security leadership role. That's the kind of thing you're looking for if you want a good president. The executive experience. This role gives Gabbard high-level decision-making, interagency coordination, real national security leadership, everything a president needs. And I seriously think, okay, Trump is not only leading today, he is building tomorrow's leadership, positioning Tulsi for the presidency in 2028. And I seriously think that that's the reason that Donald Trump put Tulsi Gabbard on his cabinet, is because he realizes she ran for president back in 2020, but Joe Biden was the person who got elected. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard, back then, I remember watching and listening to everything she said, and I was saying, you know, if she gets the nomination, I will vote for Tulsi Gabbard, because she had, you know, just great ideas, great strategy, terrific experience, and she really seemed to care about what she was doing. She cares about America. She was in the military and everything. So I think one of the reasons that Donald Trump put her on the cabinet is so that she would get the valuable experience necessary to run for election. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think she's going to run for election in 2028. Now, a lot of people are saying Vance is going to run for president and Gabbard is going to run for vice president. I think that's the other way. I think Vance might be vice president, and I think Tulsi Gabbard might be president. And I think that they will realize then what a valuable step that will be. America will have its first female president, and she will be a Republican. And I think that is what one of the things that Donald Trump had in mind, was to build her up so that she could become an effective president. So that's one of the reasons I'm really behind her. So Your shared values, America first strength, duty, honor, and service. Like I said, she was in the military, and she's a very decent human being. She's written a book, and in her book, you read her book. I read her book, and it was pretty good. You know, she didn't go around blaming other people. She's very even-minded, even-keeled. You know, her book really covers a lot of good stuff. You should probably read it. Courage to challenge the establishment, which she really does, and leadership that protects freedom. And those things are all very important. And I just don't see the Democrats having anybody as good in their place to run for it. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, as first female president, first Hindu president, she's actually a Christian. I don't know why I put the Hindu. She is a Christian. She became a Christian, and she was apparently Hindu at one point in her life. As she was growing up, her family was Hindu. But yeah, she is a Christian. She makes that very clear in her book. But she does have some Hindu background. So the first female president of the United States will be a well, she's non-white. I guess I want to say. Okay, that's don't dance around it. She's not going to be white. So we will have a non-white female person who is president, and I don't know. I guess that's a good thing. But yeah. I personally don't like the idea of voting for or electing somebody or giving somebody a job based on the fact that they, their gender or their race, their ethnicity, their religion, whatever. I don't approve of that kind of thing. I don't approve of DEI. It's racist. It's sexist. It's a bad thing. But we have to be realistic. Okay? The reality is that people are going to, the general population of the United States are going to be more approving of a minority female being elected than a female. If we say, yeah, we got a female elected, well, that's terrific. Now we need a minority female. Well, okay, she's a minority female. Great. Yeah, she's elected. Now, great. So, Anyways, veteran leader in the White House, a new chapter in American greatness. Okay, so Oregon's role. Oregon's 6th District proudly supports the leadership that builds people, service-driven patriotism, and a future-focused transformation of America. What I mean by transformation, I have spoken before on people who talk about being progressive. And I want to take back the whole concept of progressive for the Republican Party. All right, I don't see liberals as being progressive. Like I've said many times, the American values, the values that America was founded upon are clearly stated in our Declaration of Independence. That is that we're all created equal and endowed by our Creator are with inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So anytime I see America going further away from life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, I call that regressive. Progressive is anything we do that goes towards, in the direction of providing and guaranteeing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And generally speaking, what I have found is the people who call themselves progressive, they don't really want to go in that direction. They want to go in the direction of control. They want to control people more. Like, what was it? There was this person, Ellen something, or I can't remember her last name. She got dark hair. She was in that movie Juno. She identifies as a man now, and one of the things she's saying is, well, these MAGA Republicans go around and they saw this person who was a lesbian and said something evil, and that's bad because, well, I want to be progressive and prevent that kind of thing from happening. See, that's the problem, is that you can't keep people from saying what they want to say. You can't, Congress shall make no law. It's First Amendment. Congress shall make no law regarding freedom of speech. And that's one of the problems. See, it's one of the characteristics of a free society. It's not a problem with a free society. It's one of the characteristics of a free society. People can say whatever they want. You can be an asshole. You can be as much of an asshole as you want. If you come up and physically assault me, I can be an asshole back to you. Okay. If you say something to me, it's like you got those two. Hey, what's your name? Robert. Why? Hey, fuck you, Robert. Hey, fuck you. And you've seen the meme. They go back and forth with each other. Fuck you. No, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Right. And these guys are like, it's like, hey, you better not, you see that fire over there? Yeah, that fire. Hey, you better not bring my mother into it. And stuff like that. Right. That's allowed. Okay, Congress can't make laws that prevent people from doing that. That's progressive. It is progressive for people to learn how to deal with society, how to put up with people and their human characteristics. People are going to find lifestyle differences offensive. A long time ago in the 1910s, 1920s, California had a law saying that white people cannot marry outside of their race. They got rid of that law. But people would still look at you, oh, you're married to a person who is not white, ew, that kind of thing, right? And I remember as a kid, there were TV shows where a black person and a white person were in a relationship, and this was supposed to create controversy. Ooh. Well, nowadays, I mean, you see black people, white people, you don't even consider it. You don't say, oh, I'm in a relationship with a black person. You say, well, I'm in a relationship with Mary or Frank or Bob or whoever, right? So people are going to be assholes. They have the right to be an asshole. Preventing them from being assholes just compounds the problem. If you let somebody be an asshole and they're ostracized by the general public for being an asshole, that generally fixes the problem. But if you get the government in on it and say, well, you're under arrest, you're getting a ticket because, well, here, it's an asshole tax. That's not progress. That's being regressive. That's taking us back to a period of time where the king would send out his people and say, you have offended the king. You must lose your head, or something like that. Okay, so that's going back in time. Republicans are the people who are going to say, nah, the guy's got a right to be an asshole. If he comes over and touches you, you can punch him. But if he says stuff to you that's offensive, you can say stuff that's offensive back. That person can't come over and hit you. If that person does hit you, you can hit him back, or we can just arrest that person. So, people have the right to be an asshole. Okay, so it's not progressive. Preventing people from feeling that way, that's not progressive. Also, I saw at a baseball game, they had the national anthem, and they got a flag that's, I guess, the gay flag or something like that. I don't know, it's all stripes, and it's a real pretty flag. But anyway, instead of the American flag, they had the gay flag, and I was like, well, I don't like that. So if I were at the baseball game, I would say, no, come on, man, get up the stars and stripes. This is America. We salute the American flag, stars and stripes. If you want to fly your gay flag in front of your house, beautiful, wonderful, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to stop you. You've got that right. And if anybody does come on your property and tries to tear your flag down, I am going to protect your right to have your flag in front of your house, okay? That's progressive. That is what is progressive, is me defending your right to live any lifestyle you want. But it is not progressive for you to force your lifestyle on me. That's going to cause people to be very upset, very angry. Okay, so anytime you have to force your lifestyle on somebody, or punish them for not appreciating your lifestyle, that's not progressive, that's regressive. Anytime somebody says, well, hey, that's just the way things are, we have to, go move forward and all that, that's progressive. Okay, so anytime any policy that a person has shows appreciation for the individual's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that is progressive. Anytime any policy any person has shows a lack of respect or a restraint of an individual's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that's regressive. Okay, so that's my definition of that. So anyways, that's what I'm talking about. Future focused on transformation of America, progress, being progressive, okay? And so that's all I got for today. I found this picture of a raccoon. This is interesting. Thanks for watching. So anyways, yeah, so these are the top 10 things. I have other stuff I want to do when I get to Congress. So remove $5 trillion from national debt, propose 28th Amendment transparency in financial incentive, transparency in financial incentives, and I've got a video on that. Secure America's digital infrastructure by requiring PLCs be built domestically, tuberculosis and polio screening for all migrants as well as food workers. That's a very, very important thing because TB and polio, they still exist and they are major killers. 5-pillar blueprint to empower local governments, and that's where I tell every local government in the state of Oregon, I would require, well, in the 6th congressional district anyway, I would require every town, every city in the congressional district to figure out how they are going to spend money to improve infrastructure, improve the prospect of jobs, get better housing, food, fuel, and what was the other one? Food and fuel, jobs, food. Yeah, that's all five. Okay, so protecting our law enforcement through the Reasonable Operations Space Act. And what that is when cops go out and protect us, you get these protesters that spit on them and get in their faces and everything. I want to create a barrier. I want to create a boundary. So let's say 3 feet. 3 feet is reasonable. A person has to stay back 3 feet. If that person encroaches closer than 3 feet on the police officer, that police officer has the right to arrest that person. And it's not like 6 months in jail or anything like that. The person is arrested, they're booked, and this is recorded. They're taken away to, I don't know, a prison, or, here, have a box lunch. We just want you to understand that what you're doing is wrong. We're going to get you out of the protest thing and do this stuff. Not a huge thing. I just want to protect the police officers that are protecting us, okay? Requiring early measles vaccination. There's a big hooey about this over in Washington, D.C., where you got the Kennedy is saying, oh, the vaccination bad, like that. The measles vaccination is the single most important vaccination anybody can have, because measles has this weird characteristic where it resets your immune system, and it's really worth looking into. Go ahead and do some research on it. The measles vaccination, I'm going to require that it's available to everybody in America. Very, very important vaccination. And the American Talent First Act to ensure American workers are prioritized for jobs in America. And this has to do with American corporations being paid by American taxpayers to actually prioritize race and gender over everything else. And if American corporations cannot find talented workers who meet the race and gender quota, then they are paid to go overseas into other countries. And I don't think that's right. I think American workers, if you can't find an American worker in America that meets the race and gender quota, then cancel the race and gender quota and just hire whoever shows up. Okay, so this is a DEI thing. I want to get rid of DEI big time. I hate DEI. Immunotherapy for cancer research, and this is something we do in Oregon. We have a a facility for immunotherapy for the treatment of cancer. Great place. I want to get more money to it. I want Oregon to be the center for immune therapy for cancer research. And in-person voting, Oregon just recently made all voting mail-in voting. Well, I don't like the option being taken away. I think that every person in America should have the option to do in-person voting if they want to, because that it could potentially pose a security hazard. Anyways, I want to say I do support President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's doing a great job. I think he deserves it. And MAGA, make America great again. This is the same. But my motto is make Oregon 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. Mosk Dagdika. Okay? So, and that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Thank you very much for, I hope that you stuck around. Thank you very much for sticking around, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye.